talking about today?
Today we're talking about everyone's favorite thing in the world, taxes.
What's even the? Do you want to just hop right in? What even is taxes? What's the purpose of taxes?
Well, the purpose of tax. You know what? Before I go into the purpose of taxes, first off, guys, welcome to the FI guys.
Yeah, welcome. We were talking about cold plunge for a hot minute. But.
We are your guide to mastering finances and achieving financial freedom. In this episode, like we just said, we're going to be diving into the intricacies of the U.S. tax code, and we're going to also help you uncover some strategies for optimizing taxes and keep more of what you earn. Because, like we said, it's not about how much you make; it's about how much you keep.
Yeah. Nobody likes paying taxes.
No one likes paying taxes. And the reason that I did that is so I could actually go to the IRS.gov website and pull up what the actual purpose of taxes is according to the U.S. government.
Yeah, what do we got?
So according to the U.S. government, IRS.gov, taxes provide revenue for federal, local, and state governments to fund essential services like defense, highways, police, a justice system that benefit all citizens who could not provide such services very effectively for themselves.
Essential?
I don't want, dude.
We won't talk about it. Fire and police, very essential. Very essential. Social Security, essential.
I'll say that people larger than us can make those discussions. They can have those discussions as to if taxes are the best way to fund those programs and what essential versus non-essential is.
Yeah, well, who decides the essentials? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to get into the politics of it. That's not our job.
That's not our job here.
We're going to talk about paying less taxes.
We're talking about controlling what you can control, which is controlling your behaviors and your finances. But I think a lot of people, when they think about taxes, most people only think about federal taxes. They think about what's the White House doing, what's Congress doing, what's all this. But in addition to just federal taxes, there's also state taxes. Some jurisdictions have local taxes. And one of the biggies, if you actually look at your pay stubs, is FICA taxes. And FICA stands for Federal Insurance Contribution Act. So what that means is Social Security and Medicare. So currently, if everyone's paying, if you look at your pay stub, you'll see a Medicare or a FICA line item. You're basically subsidizing current retirees in order to pay for their Medicare services, which is their medical services to go to the doctor and everything, and also for their Social Security, because
old people need to get paid.
Old people need to get paid because
they deserve it because they paid into it.
They paid into it. We're paying into it as well.
And that's another thing we can get into.
That's another thing we can get into.
Where's my money in 20, 30, or 40, 50 years, man?
And like I said before, I've mentioned this before, I believe that our generation, we will have Social Security, but I do think it's going to be dramatically cut. Yeah. Best case scenario is that it's cut by 40%. So if you hope to have $2,000, expect to have, what is that, $1,400 rather? Yeah. But for FI, I always like to say, let's completely cut out Social Security, and if you have it, that's just icing on the cake, and we're just going to hope for that. But if we plan around what we can control, then we're always never going to be surprised, which is the big thing.
Yeah, we got to plan for the unexpected and plan that it won't be there at all.
Yep, plan for the unexpected and hope that it is.
Yeah, we don't want to count on things we can't control.
Yeah, because imagine how much different someone's financial life would look like if they planned, I only need to achieve FI until I reach the age of 65, and then after that Social Security will be able to cover it. By the time they get to 65, if they say retire at 30, that's 30 years for things to change.
Yeah.
And the government could even say like, no, we're gonna delay taxes another 10 years, and now your whole plan's shot.
Or delay the Social Security.
Yeah, delay Social Security till 75. Now your whole plan's shot. You may have to go back to work or whatever. And we just want to make sure that we're in control so we never find ourselves in those types of situations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Delay taxes. I'm down.
Yeah, I know. I would
be down. Just defer it to maybe 100, 200 years. That works for me.
After I die, you could take as much taxes as you want.
As much as you need. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. All right, segment 2?
Yeah, segment 2. So
perfect.
Decoding progressive tax systems. I find when I talk to my clients that there's a huge misconception as to how taxes are actually calculated.
Absolutely.
I've had people say basically to me, Chris, I can't continue to work this year because it's going to put me to the next tax bracket, and I don't want to pay taxes.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
And that's not how that works. So let's make sure that we talk about it. There are some intricacies for how income is taxed because it's taxed on a progressive system known as tax brackets. So I want to make sure that you guys understand the difference, that there is a difference between marginal tax bracket and effective taxes or taxes, which would be your average. So marginal taxes is the rate corresponding to your highest tax bracket that you fall into. So for example, that client that I was talking about says, I don't want to go into the next tax bracket.
Correct.
I think they think that, if I go into the 32nd% tax bracket, then my entire income is taxed at 32%.
At that, yeah. Which is incorrect.
100%. That's why you have to look at your effective tax rate, which is really the actual percentage you pay over your entire taxable accounts. So the average you're paying.
So we pulled up the tax rate on our screen here. So if you're single and you make between 0 and 11,000, you're paying 10%.
Yep.
Right? And the next one's 12%, goes up 12%, then 22, 24%, 32%, 35%, and 37%.
Yep.
37% is anything over $578,126. Such a random number.
Yeah, it is.
It's very random.
But just imagine, so if someone is, the way I like to explain this to my clients is think about buckets or even these cups here. So say this cup, for those on the pod, those who are just listening on the pod, we have our Fi Guys cups in front of us. Say that my cup here is the 10% bucket. Your cup here is the 12% bucket. Just because in order for me to so this is the 10% bucket, I have to fill this all the way up, and I'm going to pay 10% on that, and then all the overflow will be taxed at 12% in your bucket.
Yep.
And it just continues down the line like that.
Simple enough.
Yeah, so if you made $1 million this year, you're not going to be taxed at the highest tax bracket of 37% for the entire $1 million.
No.
Just like everyone else, your first 11,000 is going to be taxed at 10, your next 35 is going to be taxed at 12, your next 50 after that will be taxed at 22, so on and so forth, all the way down the line until you hit that 37%. You're just filling up those buckets.
And that's for filing single.
Yep, and of course you could always file married filing jointly, married filing separately, or head of household.
Yep.
You know what head of household is?
I believe I'm about to find out.
Yeah, so head of households, those are for individuals who have a dependent on them. So either they have a child and they no longer have a spouse due to divorce or whatever else, or someone who has maybe an elder that they're looking after, but someone who is dependent on their income for at least more than 50% of the year. You can file as head of household, which gives you an additional tax deduction over if you were just to file as single.
And you couldn't file head of household if you had a few puppies.
No.
They're dependent on me, Chris. What do you mean? I gotta feed them.
Yeah, you're saying that I can't write off my cats?
My children? My little doggo? Come on.
You're a monster.
Monster, you evil IRS.
So I know it's a bit confusing to try to describe this over a podcast, so I want to give you guys an example. And what might be good is if we can maybe put this in the description. Would that be possible somewhere?
Yeah, we can figure that out.
And maybe put a link or something to it?
Yeah,
we'll put a link to the IRS.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
So you guys can actually go in and see exactly what we're doing. But let's say that you're a single filer in the state of Arizona in 2023. You just got out of college, you're starting to make some money, and you found a great job. It's going to be paying you $100,000 right off the bat.
Nice.
Good job. You did
solid.
it. Yeah. So that means that you're going to pay roughly around $25,000 in taxes. Sorry. That just is what it is. So that means that your average tax rate, also known as your effective tax rate, will be 17%, but your marginal tax bracket will actually be 24%, meaning that the highest limit that you hit was the 24%, but over all of the buckets, you only spent 17% on average for the whole $100,000, leaving you with $75,000, a little bit more than $75,000 in your take-home pay after paying your taxes for your federal, state, and FICA.
Interesting. So the tax rate's 17%.
The average tax rate, if you were to take out, because they touched right here, they touched right to the 24, so that's giving their marginal, but if you are actually to calculate all of those out and average it, it's 17%.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's 100,000. The first 11,000 is taxed at 10%. The next 11,000 to 44,000, right, is taxed at 12%. Gotcha.
And then the next 45 to 95 is taxed at 22%.
That's the bulk of it.
Yep. But then since he touched that marginal tax bracket of 24, the only thing that's getting taxed at 24 is from the 95,000 to 100,000. So only that $5,000 is being taxed at 24%.
Well, that's not too bad. That's like $1,000.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But a lot of people unfortunately think like, oh no, I made $100,000. That means all of my taxes are going to be, or my entire thing's going to be 24%.
Interesting. So his taxes are 25K still, or would that be a little bit different.
No, that is correct. And the big reason for that is because this is just what we're looking at here is just your federal income taxes. We're not also looking at FICA and state. That's the reason I said in Arizona.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That's where it threw me off a little bit.
In Arizona. Yeah. And if you're in California or maybe in New York, your taxes would be even higher.
Yes. Congratulations.
Congratulations. I live in California too. I know what it's like.
Yep.
There's a reason I'm here.
Yep.
So the reason that some people say like, what's the reason we even have this progressive tax system? It seems really complex.
It's kind of confusing.
No, it's super confusing. I would, if I was an emperor for a day, I would probably just try to say like we're gonna have a sweeping like 20% across everything and just make it easy.
That would be actually kind of simple though.
That's the way.
A flat tax, 20%.
There has been flat taxes enabled before, and they do work.
They do work.
All systems work as long as you're willing to have it. But the reason that we have a progressive tax system, the goal is to ease tax burden on people who earn lower amounts. So for our tax table, people who earn under $44,000, $44,725 to be exact, their effective tax rate is only going to be like 11.8%. It's not till you go a dollar over that, $44,726,000, that it jumps from 12% to 10% or 22%, which is a 10% jump.
It's pretty hefty.
That's very sizable. I mean, that's pretty much the largest jump that you can look on a tax table, between any one bracket. The next largest one would be from 182,000 for a single filer to 182,101. Takes you from 24 to 32%.
Yeah, the top of the 24% bracket to the bottom of the 32%.
That's the next largest jump.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. And then after you're over 500,780, basically you're going to be taxed at 37% the entire way.
Yeah.
So when people say millionaires aren't paying their fair share of taxes, they are. They're paying 37% on majority of the taxes that they're making, which is the highest bracket that we have.
Definitely.
Now, I'm not saying there aren't ways to get around that.
Yeah.
But
we're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about some of that. So we're going to teach you some of the tricks of the rich.
Yeah, let's do it. Strategies to reduce your taxes.
So, Dom, what if I told you that there was a way to actually reduce your earned income and minimize your tax liability in this year?
I'd say let's turn off the camera so you can tell them. But we're good people, so we're going to tell them.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
Let's just share it for free. Why not?
Share it for free. I love it.
Yeah. So first up, before we do that, I want to address the apparent paradox of wanting to both earn more money while reducing taxes. Because we just talked about that we have a progressive system. So the more money you earn, then you have to pay more taxes. So how could there ever be a way that you're making more money and paying less in taxes?
It's very defeating mentally.
Yeah, it is. It is. And a lot of people just say, oh, well, that just seems confusing and I don't want to be a part of it.
Why try if you know you're going to get beaten with a stick?
Yeah. And then it's also important to remember that when we talk about these next things, most people in their working years, you're earning the highest amount of income that you're earning at your peak years. Usually most people's peak years is between 40 and 60 years old. That's where you're making the most amount of money because you're now experienced in your job, you're doing good, you're killing it. That's when you're bringing most of your money. So would it maybe make sense to try to lower your tax burden now? Because when you do retire, ideally you're going to be making less money because you're going to be living off of Social Security and what you've saved over the years.
Yeah.
So we defer taxes into the future, hoping that in the future we won't be earning as much, and also we won't have the deductions that most people do in their 40s to 50s, mainly being paying off your house and if you have kids.
Yeah, kids are expensive.
Yeah, because once you're to retirement, most people have already paid off their homes and their kids are out of the house. You can no longer claim them as dependent. And then, of course, there's also the discussion to be had, what if taxes are more expensive in the future? And between you and I believe that taxes are at an all-time low. And I think they will be far more expensive in the future. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. No one has a crystal ball. So sometimes it's good to have a mix of both traditional and Roth accounts. Definitely. And if you don't know what I'm talking about there, go back to episode 6 where we talk about different investing accounts. And you'll be able to kind of have a better understanding as to what those two accounts are. Definitely.
Because you can definitely use those for taking advantage of taxes. Because now that you're retired and your kids are moved out, you can't write off your kids. And your house is paid for, so you can't write off like the interest on the mortgage. So you're kind of not left out to dry, but you got to find new ways.
Yeah, you got to find new and creative ways. So the best way to find those new and creative ways is to work now when you're younger so that when you're older, you have more optionality.
Absolutely.
Because what a lot of people end up doing is that currently, with retirees, all they really have is traditional. So every time they take money out, it's adding to their
Yeah,
highest
it's
marginal
added to
tax
their
bracket.
income.
Yep, and then whenever you take money out of a traditional account, it gets added to your highest marginal tax bracket.
Yeah, that makes sense, guys, right? That does make sense. So if you have 4 buckets, right? And the first bucket is the 10% tax rate, second bucket is 12%, third bucket is 22%. Well, we'll just keep it at 3 buckets.
Yeah.
Right? When you pull money out of your traditional IRA, it's going to fill up the top bucket because the other buckets are already full, and whatever the next bucket is going to be the highest one.
Yep. And that's something to consider. So people who have, say, if you're maybe current retirees, for our generation, no one's going to really have a pension, I don't think, but maybe you have a job that has a pension and you have Social Security, some people are going to be earning like $95,000 in retirement a year, which is a good solid income, and that's great.
Yeah.
But that means if you're pulling anything out of that, or you're taking anything out of your traditional account, and that's going to get added to your highest marginal tax bracket, which will now push you into the 24% tax bracket, meaning anything you take out of your traditional IRA will be taxed at 24%.
Yeah.
And it could get even worse depending on how we go higher or higher. Ideally, someone's into a higher rate, and that'd be great. And of course, we're only talking about people filing singly.
Yeah, this is just singly. Because if we were going to do each one, we'd be here for a long time. Yeah, the numbers are different for married, joint, married filing separately, head of household.
Yeah, and we'll put a link in the description so you guys can go to basically. I'll put it to irs.gov where you can see the tax brackets and see where you fall into it. But just know that just because your income falls into a tax rate on the left side of the screen, that does not mean that the entirety will be taxed at that rate.
Yeah. Correct.
So how do we actually lower our taxes?
Yeah, tell me. Give me the sauce. Give me the secret sauce.
Yeah. So the best way to do it is the retirement accounts. And here, for people achieving or trying to reach FI, we're already trying to save as much money as we can in order to bring that FI number as close to possible. So why not kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone? We're saving for our future, for financial independence, or financial freedom, whatever you're looking for, and we're lowering our taxes now, current tax liability.
Yes.
So remember, there is a difference between traditional and Roth accounts. Traditional accounts, so your traditional 401k, 403b, TSP, IRA, that means that it is pre-taxed. So whenever we put money into those accounts, we get to actually tell the government that we did not make that much money in this year. So you take our person who has $100,000, and then there's Roth IRAs, which are post-tax. So that means that you're still going to have to report it in this year, but when you take money out in the future, you don't have to report it. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Am I keeping that clear?
I think so.
Okay. So contributing to pre-tax savings can lead to significant tax savings in this year. And for an example of that, let's take our first example, the person who makes $100,000 in this year, just got out of college, found a great job, and they decide, you know what, I heard that I should max out my 401k every year.
Sure.
So in this year, the year of 2023, they put $22,500 into their traditional 401k at work. Remember, inside of our original one, this person paid $25,000 in taxes.
Okay.
So now they put $22,500 into their 401k. They're saving for financial independence.
Okay.
They're only going to end up paying $19,000 in taxes this year, which is going to save them $5,000 in taxes overall. But here's the big thing. That's going to be saved for their state taxes and their federal taxes, but it does not, you cannot hide from FICA.
No.
So FICA is always going to tax you at the $100,000 that you made. You can't get rid of that in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. And FICA is to fund Medicare and Social Security, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So this person's take-home pay would actually be $58,000 rather than the $75,000 of the original person who didn't save any money, but they also saved an additional $22,500 that they're keeping, quote unquote, keeping in their investment accounts.
So the goal is basically to reduce your taxable income. So just because it says, oh, I made 75K, but now once I did all my tax solutions and everything, now I make 58K. It's not like, Chris, I want to make more money. I'd rather make 75 than 58. It's like, no. You still made 75, but
we actually made more than 75.
More than 75.
Made 8,000 or 80,500.
Even better.
Yep.
But you just, rather than giving the money to the government, you paid yourself. You paid future self.
You paid your future self.
Future self. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so that's a key point, is that this individual who put the money into their retirement account, while their take-home pay this year might seem smaller, because it is smaller, they've actually ended up saving themselves over $5,000 in taxes that they're going to keep for themselves in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I think that's actionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super actionable. So please go back if you're kind of confused as to what these different accounts are to episode 6 and listen to investing or all of the different investing. What did we even call that one? Remember what it was called? Understanding different investment vehicles.
Yep, that's right.
So you can go back there and find all those. In addition to all of this, the IRS actually just increased or just released all of the contribution limits.
Okay.
So let's discuss that a little bit.
I got nervous when you said increased. I was like, oh, chill.
No, it's a good thing. It means you can actually save more money each
Love
year.
that. Good chills.
So for 2024, for 401ks, 403bs, 457s, TSPs, they've actually increased the maximum contribution by $500. So now you can contribute $23,000 rather than $22,500.
It's not bad.
No, it's
good.
great.
A good increase.
For IRAs, for both Roth and traditional, they also increased those by another $500. So now you can contribute up to $7,000 rather than $6,500.
Yep, I remember that.
They still have a catch-up contribution for those over 50 of $1,000, and for the 401k, it's $7,500.
Okay.
And now they've also increased the phase-out for Roth. And I've mentioned before that Roth you can only contribute if you're under a certain amount of income. So for individuals, you have to be under $146,000 to be able to contribute to a Roth, just straight up.
Yeah.
And then for married couples, it's $130,000.
That's interesting. Do you think that's right?
I'm sorry, $230,000.
Yeah. Do you think Roth should be for everyone?
I do, but
It doesn't make sense why. Because you can only contribute $7,000 a year, right? So it's not like even if you were Bill Gates, you still can only contribute $7,000.
yeah, but they're still. I mean, what they're trying to do. I understand what you're saying there, but what they're trying to do is trying to make it as fair as they possibly can.
I got you.
But if you guys continue to listen to us, I will teach you guys how to do a backdoor Roth, where even if you are over those limits, you can still contribute to a Roth.
Good to know.
Yep. There's always a way to do it.
There's always a little workaround.
There's always a loophole.
And it's clean too.
Yep. No, yeah. It's not like we're meeting in a back alley and
No.
do a Roth conversion.
Yeah. Give me the back door. Give me the back door. Yeah.
Give me the backdoor Roth.
Give me the backdoor Roth. Yeah. Cough twice.
Yeah.
Make sure you're not a snitch. It's like, it's good.
Yeah, lift up your shirt. Let me make sure you're not
You're gonna
wire.
what's that microphone there? Come on now. Well, that's good because we would never give you advice that we wouldn't do ourselves.
No, I mean I do Roth conversions for myself constantly. I met with the CPA, my CPA recently, and we talked about doing a big Roth conversion this year.
Nice.
I met with my clients, and we talk about that as well because taxes will be going back up in 2025.
Fun. Okay. Cool.
So,
Yeah.
exceptions and considerations for taxes.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So highlighting tax strategies depends on the individual, right? And their circumstances.
Yeah, there's circumstances, and there's a bunch. We touched on a few of them actually. So this entire time we've been saying that let's say the individual is a single person, but some of the things that could be individual circumstances might be if they're single. What if they're married and they're filing jointly? So that means that basically whatever a single person does, you times it by 2. That's married filing jointly. There's also married filing separately. Meaning that we're separating them two, and you basically lose a bunch of the tax incentives that you have.
Why would someone do that?
That's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that. Okay. My wife and I actually do married filing separately.
Okay.
And the reason for that is my wife has student loans because she is a veterinarian. So the way that we do our payment plans for repaying her student loans is off of something called payee. So pay with an E after it. Okay. It's a government program. But basically the way that they calculate her repayment program is based off of her income. So if we did a married filing jointly, then it would be both of our incomes. That's what they would judge how much she has to pay off.
Yeah.
So since we do married filing separately,
it looks smaller.
It looks like it's only half of what we both make together. Yeah. So that's the reason that we do that. If you guys are interested in learning more about student loans and all that stuff, please let me know. I'm pretty good at that because of my wife. So I can always kind of walk you through some of the different ways of how student loans can be repaid. And just as a foreshadow, you don't actually have to pay all of your loans back. There is ways to just make minimum payments for the next 20 years, given that you still have a federal student loan you never consolidated to a personal loan through a third party, and it can actually be forgiven after 20 years.
That's wild. student loans are a very scary thing.
Oh yeah.
I saw this one, I don't know if you sent it to me or someone, I don't know where I saw it, but it was this woman who'd been paying off her student loans for the last 10 years, but only doing minimum payments. And the initial like payment for the student loan was like 85 grand.
Yep.
And it like ballooned to like 120.
Yep. And
Crazy.
because remember, there's still the magic penny idea, or the rule of 72. Most student loans are between 5 and 10%. So let's just say it's an average of 7. So that means every 10 years, she had an $80,000, if she was just making minimum payments, she's not really eating away at any of the principal. So that will basically double.
Yeah.
In 10 years. So where she had $80,000, after 10 years, it'll be probably 130.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. So the big thing to take away from that is just making the minimum payments is not going to get you out of debt.
No. And when you're getting a big loan, just take a second, take a breath.
Yes, and that's the hard part, and that's why there's a big thing about, is student loans right for individuals? You're 18 years old, you have no idea what you're doing in life, and someone just says, "Here's $200,000."
Yeah.
And most 18-year-olds are going to be like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
I had no idea.
No one's ever. They haven't seen money like that.
No one understands it, and then of course there's like, "Oh, don't worry, you'll pay it back later with the money you're going to make if you go to college."
Yeah.
You go to college and you get out of college, and then the job that you think is going to be waiting for you isn't there.
No.
That's why so many millennials and Gen X people are very
up creek without a paddle.
Yeah, they're demystified about like what's the point of all this, because they worked hard, they went to college, they were told if you do good, get your grades up, when you get out, you're going to have a job waiting for you. Yeah. And they came out and there was no job waiting for them.
No.
And now they have all this student loan debt, and a lot of people just feel that they were lied to. And I get that, I understand it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a bad situation to be in.
No, yeah.
It's a tough situation to be in. That's not great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we talked about last time when we were talking about ways to increase your income. If you are in college currently, or you're going to be going to college soon, try looking at a major that's actually going to have a job when you come out.
Yeah, that can't be taken down by AI or can't be influenced by Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and that's difficult to do because no one knows what the future holds. But between you and I, if I had a kid right now, I'd probably be pushing them towards a trade, like being a plumber or electrician.
You know what?
Because we are very, very short on those, and that's something that AI.
There's plumbers. I was looking at this earlier in Texas, like in Austin. They're pulling down 100, 200,000 a year. Plumbers.
Easy.
Crazy.
Easy. Yeah, I can see a lot more.
2 years of trade school, coming out guaranteed 200K. I mean, you could even start your own plumbing business or work for someone else.
And what would you rather do? Would you rather go to college for 4 years and come out $200,000 in debt, or go directly into a trade where you're making $60,000, $70,000 immediately while you're learning, and then after 2 years, now you're making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000?
Look, if you just don't know what you want to do in life, that's a great option.
I think it is, and unfortunately, too many people for a long time were told, "Oh, don't do that. That's what
That's lower class.
That's lower class."
Yeah, it's like, well, guess what? Have you ever had a leak in your house?
Yeah.
Have fun fixing that. Have you ever had a pipe burst and now your whole house is flooding? Good luck.
Yep.
Like, you need someone with the specialty of that trade to get that job done.
And you could be that person for somebody.
Yeah.
Just a general handyman makes so much money per hour.
Yeah. Like, I know some handyman that are like, they're so knowledgeable. Like, they could build the house from the ground up. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. And they could just do it all. It's like, wow.
That's what a general contractor is, to be able to do pretty much everything at all. Mm-hmm. Everything, a little bit of everything. And then you demand a premium because there's less people out there that can do that nowadays.
Yeah, supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
Supply is there, demand's there. Or the supply isn't there, but the demand is there, so you can increase your prices.
Yeah, so it's just something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
But some of the other things that could also look into different circumstances for taxes might also be if you live in a community property state.
It's like Arizona. We're a
community property state. California, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, pretty much anything that was once a part of Mexico.
Interesting.
Are often community property states. But in addition to that, there's also Idaho, Louisiana, Wisconsin, and Washington.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is community property for those that don't know?
So the community property states are basically, the law says that marriage is a partnership in which both spouses equally share income, assets, and assets after they are married. So as an example, say my wife and I, If my wife makes $200,000 this year and I just sit at home and I do nothing.
You're a stay-at-home dad.
I'm a stay-at-home dad. Yeah. I'm lazy. I just want to.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a stay-at-home dad.
I want to tan every. No, I don't. I'm a stay-at-home dog dad.
Yeah.
Stay-at-home dog dad.
I love it.
And I just sit at home and tan all day. My wife making $200,000. When we file our taxes, if we do file married filing separately, since we live in the community property state, we would both have $100,000 that we'd have to report to the IRS.
And that's filing separately?
Yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because we're in a community property state. But say if you lived in a different state, say you lived in New York. In New York, you could say, I only made, if we married filing separately, I made $0, my wife made $200,000. But since we're in a community property state, we have to split and both have 100 on both of our tax returns.
Interesting. I could see why someone would want to just file jointly and keep it simple.
That's honestly the best way. Most people do marry filing jointly, but sometimes, and this is where I would recommend consulting with a CPA, it might be worth doing married filing separately, especially if
they make too much.
If there's significant student loans, like my wife's student loans, they're very few and far between circumstances.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're becoming more and more common as people are exiting college with student debt, like we just talked about a little bit before.
But it's good to have options. It's good to have options.
I love optionality.
Yes, we do. We also talked about head of household.
Yep, and then if you're a head of household, that's another thing you might need to think about as well, and what's going to be the best thing to do.
And dogs don't count as dependents.
I wish.
Cats. You got 3 dependents downstairs. 4
dependents.
That's pretty great. That was a joke. That's a joke, guys. They don't count as dependents. Just...
Don't worry, I'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
When I figure out a way, I will tell the podcast listeners immediately.
We're going to get those dogs' social security numbers. They deserve rights. They already have rights. Might as well make them people.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah. Okay. What else did we talk about?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we kind of touched on everything. I think it's also important to remember, if you guys may have a pension or a large social security, maybe consider doing a Roth, because you might not want to have that added on to your highest marginal tax bracket. And also a big thing is consider where taxes might be going in the future. Like I said, no one has a crystal ball, but I believe that taxes are at an all-time low. So maybe have a blend of doing 50% into your traditional, 50% into your Roth.
Yeah.
And then that way you kind of split up. It gives you that optionality. If you're saving taxes currently, but you're also going to be saving taxes in the future, where if you went 100% one way or the other, you don't really know where things are going to go. And I think a lot of people, they feel that it has to be 100% one way or 100% the other way. Yeah. But from what I find is you can always do a blend. It doesn't have to, nothing has to be 100%.
No. Just be flexible.
Be flexible, and doing 50-50 is the most flexible way to do it. And you can always do a Roth conversion, which...
You like that. You love that.
I'll talk about that more. If you guys want me to talk about Roth conversions and how to actually implement them, let me know in the comments.
I would love that. That and the backdoor method.
Oh yeah, the Roth conversion and backdoor Roth are the same thing.
Well, you got to use calling it a backdoor method, it just sounds cool.
Yeah, well, backdoor method is to do it in this year.
Okay.
Yeah, so do it in this year, but a Roth conversion can be done at any time. There's also a mega backdoor Roth that if you own your own company, where you can basically put like $64,000 a year into a Roth.
Really? What?
Yep.
But you have to own your own company.
You have to have, if your own company, you have to have a SEP IRA or a solo 401k, because you get to contribute as both the employee and the employer to a 401k.
That's pretty gnarly.
Yep.
I might have to talk to you about that one.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for joining us. Is there anything else you want to talk about with taxes? Or is there anything I can explain a little bit better for the listener?
Dude, I'm ready to get off this topic. I'm ready to go home, have some chicken, have some pasta. It's going to be a good night. And yeah, I think I'm done with taxes for today.
Okay. Well, I'll just
38 minutes is I enjoyed it though.
Good.
I enjoyed it.
So I say we review real quick. So first thing we talked about was the purpose of taxes. Then we talked about decoding the progressive tax system. Remember, there is a difference between marginal and effective, aka average tax rate.
Yep. Just
because you hit the highest marginal tax bracket, say you made $100,000, just because you are in the marginal tax bracket of 24%, that does not mean your entire $100,000 will be taxed at 24%.
Yeah, we also talked about strategies to reduce your income too.
Yep, that's the
with the Roth and the traditional, how it's taxed before, how it's taxed after,
and how you can actually control your tax rate and really affect how much you earn, especially if you are pursuing financial independence. A lot of people who are pursuing financial independence like to use a traditional account because at one day they're going to retire before they reach traditional retirement age, meaning they're not going to be bringing in any income from work. So you can really start to look for huge Roth conversions at that point. And I can teach you a little bit more about that. But after 5 years of an account being in a Roth from a traditional, it actually, the cost basis becomes that it was a Roth the entire time. You can take that money out tax-free as if you added it in, just like the Roth was before.
Dude, there's so many methods. There's so many methods. God, you almost have to find yourself a good CPA that like knows what they're doing.
A good CPA and a financial advisor because they work together. So I work with my clients' CPAs as well because the CPA, their job is to try to maximize your tax deduction in a given year, where an advisor is trying to figure out how can we do it over the lifetime. So sometimes you can find a good CPA that can do both things, or you can find the combo of both.
I like that. It's like an Avengers team.
You know, that's what you want. I mean, I think a good person should have a financial advisor, a CPA, an attorney,
a trust guy.
Yeah, and usually an attorney can do all that kind of stuff, just to make sure that they have everything.
That's exciting.
All the I's dotted and things. But guys, thank you so much for joining us on this insightful journey through the U.S. tax code.
Never thought I'd hear that one.
Yeah. Stay tuned for more episodes as we continue to unravel the mysteries of personal finance and guide you towards financial mastery.
Absolutely. See you in the next one, guys.
See you in the next one. And remember, there's a fee for the show.
Don't forget it.
Don't forget the fee.
Credit card's out?
Yeah, credit. Do you have your credit card?
Just kidding.
Yeah, just give me the full number.
Joking.
But there is a fee for the show. If you found any value today, please refer it to one friend. Let them know about the FI guys. And until next week, or I guess until Friday, hope you guys have a good week. Later.
Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.